What's going on, guys? RBG here, bringing you a video on something that I haven't talked about in eons, and that's a Dragon Ball Z game. Not just any Dragon Ball Z game, but a Budokai Tenkaichi related Dragon Ball Z game. And this is crazy because if you've been following this channel since its inception, then you're an OG who remembers that it was all about DBZ games and discussions over here. That's one of the series that I owe my success to, and it's something that's played a major part of my childhood. Obviously, things have changed and this channel has since expanded with its own content, but occasionally I do like to go back and harp on the DBZ franchise, especially when it offers something within my wheelhouse. And this is one of those things. A couple days ago, the official trailer of Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4 was revealed at the Dragon Ball FighterZ World Tour Finals. In this trailer, we're treated with a nostalgic montage featuring a flurry of combos and super finishers from the classic Tenkaichi trilogy. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this got me extremely hyped within the first few seconds, but it's not because I was expecting to get a new installment, but it was because I thought it was building up to a confirmation of an HD remaster similar to what we got with the two Budokai games. That's been one of the most requested things from the fandom, which is understandable and hopefully still on the table. For games spanning back almost 20 years, they still hold up well in the looks and gameplay department. Not to mention that till this day, there still hasn't been a DBZ game that holds a candle to the insanely stacked roster Tenkaichi 3 boasted all those years ago. But hopefully this new entry will supersede that. The trailer finishes off by showing Goku of yesteryears doing one of his super intense transformations on the planet Namek. From there, it transitions to a completely updated and detailed next-gen facelift where it keeps the Tenkaichi formula, but also adds more nuance. Like, before we jump into the obvious being Goku's Super Saiyan Blue transformation, we gotta harp on these smaller details such as the surroundings. Take a look at the ground. You can see the blades of grass trembling under his feet. You can also see the lighting reflecting off the grass. I know these things aren't anything new to DBZ games, but it's a big leap in quality when it comes to the Tenkaichi aka Sparking series. Obviously, those earlier entries weren't able to reach these milestones due to the limited capabilities of the systems they were released on at the time. So it's good to see the devs take advantage of the next gen hardware they have at their fingertips. We have a chance of seeing highly detailed destruction, huge ground grazings that don't disappear after a certain amount of time, massive craters and all of that. I think the games that have excelled in those areas the most would be DBZ Kakarot and FighterZ, but Tenkaichi 4 is a different beast that basically takes the best of both of those worlds and makes it this crazy open battle arena fighter. The devs could easily just take the amazing fighting elements that have made FighterZ a respectable fighting game in the FGC, and they could look at the open world elements of Kakarot and improve upon their own Tenkaichi foundation. Because that's the beauty of DBZ games, right? They all borrow from one another. Like, you could easily see that Spike took some of the more notable things from Budokai 3, such as the beam struggles and planetary destruction, and added it to their Tenkaichi games. If you guys remember, the first Tenkaichi game, despite bringing the 3D battle system to the table, was lacking in a lot of areas. Each character had a handful of supers that were the same animations, and every Kamehameha wave looked the same. Not to mention that there were no in-game transformations. You had to essentially pick the form at the character selection screen, which totally locked the game's true potential. Because one of the things that adds to DBZ video games' fun factor is the fact that you can transform mid-battle. That allows the fights to shift into different playstyles because those transformations come with a different moveset. That's the reason we see so many variants of Goku in Dragon Ball FighterZ. They all have something unique to offer. So yeah, I hope the development team of this project takes a look at some of the newer mechanics that they've seen in recent DBZ games and applies it to the mechanics they've introduced in Tenkaichi. And since we're on the topic of developers, I think it's important to point out that we don't necessarily know if this project will be helmed by the same team that did the previous installments. Since the beginning, they've all been developed by Spike, which includes the Raging Blast series that's been considered the spiritual successor of the Tenkaichi franchise. I personally don't think this, since the gameplay felt dialed down compared to the very complex gameplay mechanics in Tenkaichi 3. I don't know, the combos just felt too snappy and short for my taste, not to mention that I wasn't too fond of the heads-up display. But anyways, the last DBZ related project they developed for Bandai Namco was Ultimate Tenkaichi, and we already know how that played out. Since then, the team has merged with their sister company to become Spike Chunsoft. a company that will continue developing arena fighters such as the Jump crossover fighting game series. Although that franchise has amassed its legion of fans, it's one of the weaker line of games Spike has worked on. Like, don't get me wrong, they sold exceptionally well, but the hype died down really fast because people realized how lackluster and janky they were. That kind of makes me question if the individuals within the team who worked on the earlier Tenkaichi games are even there anymore, and it has me extremely worried about Budokai Tenkaichi 4. Spike Chunsoft hasn't really developed a lot of noteworthy games over the past years, especially under the guise of Namco Bandai, who've stifled the true potential of a lot of titles due to their tight development windows. It's no secret that they have to keep pumping out DBZ related games to retain the license, and since this game is being rebuilt from the ground up, at least in terms of its visuals, chances are it won't get the proper amount of time in the development of it. This means that we could get new game mechanics that aren't completely polished. Not only that, but there's a chance that the roster will be small in comparison to Tenkaichi 3 or even that of Tenkaichi 2. Like, I'm not trying to be all doom and gloomy when it's a time for celebration that we're even getting a new entry in this awesome series, but I love it so much that I just want it to succeed. I want to relive the glory days where the replayability was insane, where we had to use our DBZ knowledge to unlock certain characters, which meant pitting specific fighters up against one another. Till this day, there are fans who are still playing Tenkaichi 3, and there are talented modders who have gone out of their way to add in characters who have been introduced through Dragon Ball Super, and there are a lot of characters within that newly expanded DB lore. Like, I'm not just talking about fighters we've seen in the Super anime and movies, I'm talking about characters that have yet to be seen in anime format and are only in the manga. Characters like Moro, Granola, and Gas. And then there's the DB Online and Heroes universe, which has essentially cross-pollinated with other games such as Xenoverse and Fighters. Dragon Ball Heroes even has a manga and anime dedicated to that specific universe. So it's going to be a tall order to fulfill if Spike Chunsoft wants to pull out all the stops like they did in the early days. But as we know, things are a lot different in today's modern era of gaming. It's not all about just selling units to drive your profit. The biggest priorities is selling millions of units and driving consumers to purchase DLC characters. That's been the winning formula for Dragon Ball FighterZ, and even though Xenoverse 2 predates that game by 2 years, it too has managed to retain a bit of relevance through its own DLC, which in my opinion is a lot better because it's not only including characters, but also new expanded extra story missions. So if Tenkaichi 4's devs can't give us a beefy roster the first go around, then they should take similar approaches to FighterZ and Xenoverse 2. As mentioned earlier, we still don't know if this game will feature the same team of devs, let alone the same company that worked on the original trilogy. Besides the copyright holders and the publisher Bandai Namco, the name of the developer is nowhere to be found in the trailer. So I'm just gonna assume that it's Spike Chunsoft. Something else that I find a bit odd is the fact that outside of the fan uploaded trailers that were taken from the 8-hour DB Fighters tournament stream, there has yet to be a version of the trailer uploaded by any of the official Bandai Namco YouTube channels. They haven't even mentioned it on their official Twitter or website, so it's just kinda weird. The only thing that I can take from this is that the game is probably in its early stages of development and there's not that much they can show us outside of this. And if that's the case, it's a good sign that the game will look a lot better because it's already off to an amazing start. But with all of that, I'm going to turn it over to you guys. What are your thoughts on this new game announcement? Do you think it'll be just as good, if not better, than the original Tenkaichi trilogy? Or do you think it'll be added to the list of duds Spike Chunsoft has put out in the recent years? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, I ask that you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. But if you really enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you shared with all your friends and followers on all the different social media outlets. Sharing really makes a difference. But anyways, this is your boy RBG signing out on another Dragon Ball Z related video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.